on, along with Nathan Scott. I'm Tom Brannon, and we're here to talk about not one but 2 rounds of potential stormy weather here in Arkansas, of which the second round on Friday is a little more encouraging, and we'll get to that here in a moment. Things are changing with that, but we'll tackle this first bout of thunderstorms coming up later tonight while we're sleeping.
Yeah.
Could have some hail, some damaging wind gusts, and then we'll work on the Friday forecast.
Yeah, things can get a little active out there this evening after sunset, primarily for southwest and west Arkansas. The Storm Prediction Center has highlighted that area under 2 out of 5 or slight risk, and it could just be 1 or 2 storms that reach their maximum potential. But the big threat out there this evening is going to be hail, and it could be significant hail. There could be one storm that tries to produce hail, golf ball size, maybe 2-inch diameter size hail is a possibility, because we're looking at the latest forecast. We're looking at what's happening right now, and the storm fuel is building into Oklahoma, into northeast Texas, into southwest Arkansas. We're just waiting on something to break the lid or a cap over the atmosphere, and that's going to be the upper level system that's going to swing its way through here this evening.
Yeah. And also, Friday has some potential issues, problems with getting that severe threat going, and we'll cover that in a moment. But here's what we got coming up. This is the impact for you today. First round tonight, large hail, gusty winds. Friday late afternoon and night. So it looks like it'll be a Friday late evening into the nighttime hours, possibly early Saturday morning for primarily the eastern half of the state. Now, we've seen this shift with the Storms Prediction Center and the risks, the areas that are of greatest concern. So again, it's always a great idea. Spring season in Arkansas, have a plan and be ready to go. Let's tackle risk number 1. This hasn't changed a whole lot since yesterday. Slight risk for western, southwestern, and even a little part of central Arkansas. And here are your primary components of what we're expecting tonight. And you were talking about that large hail risk, the hatched area, 2-inch hail or even larger. That's damaging hail.
Oh, absolutely. If that actually happens, that's going to be denting some vehicles. Hopefully that's not the case, but there's just going to be enough storm fuel that these storms could tower up into the atmosphere quite high. And we got plenty of cold air aloft for the development of large hail. And that is the biggest concern with these storms that do fire up. Not everybody that's in the severe weather risk will see rain or thunder out there this evening, but the potential is there. Whatever storm develops in that zone could go severe.
Wind 60 to 80 miles per hour with those thunderstorms that do develop. And you'll see in just a moment a comparison between our 2 short-range models, high-resolution models. They're different. They're picking up different things. This is what it looks like. Water vapor imagery that's, well, you can go ahead, Michael. You can come back to that if you like. Storm Track 11. This ties in nicely with system number 1 tonight.
Yeah, so we're not looking at satellite. We're looking at something known as water vapor imagery, and the reds and the oranges, that's where the satellite is showing dry air. But what I want to point out is you can see the motions of the atmosphere at this height level, and that's going to be well above the surface. But if you notice, there is a little wave here into New Mexico and the panhandle of Texas. That is the upper level disturbance that is going to swing its way towards the natural state, and that is a pocket of cold air that will break the cap that we have over us right now. And when you have a cap over the atmosphere, it's like basically a pot of boiling water with a lid on. And as soon as you remove that lid, what happens? All that steam comes up. Well, you just envision that as the clouds will develop. As soon as that cap breaks, those clouds will rapidly develop, and therefore the potential of strong to severe thunderstorms will be in play.
I guess the good news with this is we expect a lot of this activity after sunset tonight. So yeah, it's very nice and warm, a little more humidity out there. So we have seen those elements increase today, breezy conditions as well. But tonight, as this system swings on through, we are going to see some of those, ingredients maybe back off a little. But you can go to the storm coverage. This was what Nathan was talking about. Differing models are short-range, high-resolution models. The one on the left is the graph. This is by 10 o'clock tonight. The one on the right is the HER. There's quite a difference
That's
there.
a big difference, Tom. The HER, which is typically pretty good, is showing the development of not just 1 or 2 cells, but probably a few cells that merge into a line. And then when you see that merging of a line, that's going to be damaging wind threat in play. Meanwhile, the graph is like, oh, there's one lone storm here, one lone storm there. Now, those could still be strong, possibly severe. So it's just a wait and see on when the cap breaks, and how many storms can break through that cap will determine on what type of coverage that we see. So some locations will see a heavy downpour, thunder, lightning out there this evening through the overnight. Other locations won't see anything, but we have some wind energy. It's westerly jets into southwest Arkansas, and these storms could tap into that and rotate somewhat, which basically is going to allow the updraft or this storm to sustain itself and maintain strong to severe properties. The tornado threat, it's low, but anytime you're dealing with a lone thunderstorm, a supercell thunderstorm, you can't rule out there could be a tornado warning somewhere in west or southwest Arkansas, even though there may not be a tornado.
So let's take both of these models. The first one we will work with is the HER, and walk you through the timing of this tonight and what it could look like on the HER, because one of them is going to be right, or maybe it's a combination of both. But a beautiful afternoon. We've had a lot of sunshine. We've got a lot of cape out there, a lot of energy, temperatures in the low 80s. This is by 8 o'clock. This is what the HER is depicting, with those storms developing in western and then southwestern Arkansas. Any one of those could be severe with hail or some strong wind gusts, and supercell, wouldn't be surprised if we had a tornado warning out of this in northeast Texas that sneaks into southern Arkansas. Then as we progress, this is later on tonight, early tomorrow, that area bows out a bit, so some strong winds with that. This is primarily for the southern half of the state, and we should see it spin out of here by early tomorrow. But if you wake up with Tracy Bean tomorrow morning, if the HER is right, you're going to wake up to some rain showers and possibly some thunder in central Arkansas. Before this system gets out of the way, the sun returns Thursday. We once again warm back up into the 70s. Now, moving forward, we head over to the graph. This is what the graph depicts. Again, it's a little less impressive.
Yeah, I mean, that tells me that the graph is thinking the cap is going to hold for a longer period of time, and then it will start to break late evening, early morning hours of Thursday. But at that point, we shouldn't have a lot of storm fuel in place. Although there could still be quite a bit of thunder and lightning, we may not be able to produce large hail. There could still be some pea to dime size hail. Remember, a severe weather storm, a severe thunderstorm, is when you have winds of 58 miles per hour or greater, or the hail has to be 1 inch in diameter or greater, which is quarter size or greater. So even though the severe weather threat may be dropping by late this evening into the overnight hours, you could still have some hail that you could hear pinging on the roof or your windows tonight.
So with the next movement of the graph, I did this 1 second on purpose, because we get out of Wednesday, Thursday, we head into Friday, and that's the day we've been really watching closely. This system is a distraction compared to what could happen Friday. What could happen Friday? And we went a little bit too far there. Went all the way into Saturday morning.
We got some pause points there.
Got some pause points. Hey, it happens. Let's start at 7 o'clock Friday, 7:30 Friday evening. This is not going to be something widespread. And with the Storms Prediction Center updating their risk area, it all seems to be shifting to the east. Doesn't mean we won't pick up a strong to severe thunderstorm.
Yeah.
There's enough ingredients there that if one does develop, it could go severe quickly, and we could see tornadoes.
It's the timing. Once again, Tom, if these storms initiate sooner in the afternoon versus in the evening here in central Arkansas, our severe weather threat is going to be higher for the afternoon versus the evening, because going through the evening hours, the ingredients for severe weather will start to shift its way into East Arkansas and Northeast Arkansas. But you look at the graph, it's clearly showing there's a cap in place. Storms are potentially going to struggle to break through that cap, but once they do, they could be explosive. So I'm kind of thinking the scenario will be storms develop over central Arkansas. They could be strong, possibly severe, and then once they get east of Little Rock, into East Arkansas, in Northeast Arkansas, they're going to tap into the wind energy, really start to rotate, and I think that's where they could get wild and could be pretty nasty. And it may just be one lone storm, Tom. It could just be one supercell, but if we have a supercell that produces a big tornado that lasts for a long period of time, we're going to have some big problems, and that is a possibility. I think the threat's more going to be in West Tennessee and Northwest Mississippi versus us here in Arkansas, but everybody pretty much east of Little Rock needs to watch out going through Friday afternoon, Friday evening into Friday night.
So overall, yeah, the news is more encouraging than it was 3 days ago.
Yes.
2 days ago. Something that could be more isolated to widely scattered, but certainly not widespread. And to echo that, all it does take is one supercell that produces a tornado. And we've seen those events in the past. So again, we're going to keep an eye on it, and we're going to be around to make sure things don't get out of hand. So how about the storm timing? Let's go to that, and you will see a pretty good breakdown here. Western Arkansas may not see anything. I mean, it could be dry through the afternoon and evening hours.
It could be, yeah.
And we have seen the risk shift. The slight risk is now over the western, the River Valley area. You get slight Little Rock. So Little Rock and the metro, we're out of the enhanced risk. That's what's different. That's what's new today. It's shifting to the east.
Yeah, it's shifted like about 20, 30 miles, but that's what the models are showing is the wind energy. The ingredients are pushing more towards the Mississippi River. But we still can't let our guard down, Tom. And when we take a look at the storm timeline, it's 4 to 8 for the Ozarks, the River Valley, down into Arkadelphia and Hot Springs. So it's a small window, about 4 hours. If those storms do initiate over that part of the state, they could be strong, possibly severe. Or they may wait to initiate until they get closer to Little Rock, closer to Conway, Clinton, Pine Bluff, Rison, Monticello. So we've got the window of opportunity for strong to severe thunderstorms in a large part of central Arkansas, including Little Rock Metro, Searcy, Batesville, up through Mountain Home, 6 o'clock until 10 o'clock Friday evening, and then a wider opportunity into East Arkansas and Northeast Arkansas, maybe as early as 6 o'clock in the evening, and then lasting until midnight. These times are subject to change, maybe by 1 or 2 hours, but I think a large part of our Friday is going to be dry. It's going to be a mixture of sun and clouds and windy, and it's going to be really windy before these storms even kick off.
And windy after they move on through. This is probably the question we get the most. What time? You know, when we're live on Facebook, people will, hey, what time is it going to hit us? So this is your opportunity now to see the timing. A lot of events and activities. I know that they've been watching the weather closely in Hot Springs. They've got state high school basketball championships in Hot Springs. Hot Springs in Garland County with the low end risk. But Central Arkansas, we step up, and then we step up into Eastern Arkansas with the enhanced. There's still room for this to shift even further to the east.
Oh, yeah. And we could even see an uptick in the severe weather risk, maybe right along the Mississippi River. Certainly West Tennessee and then Northwest Mississippi has a better chance. They may have to upgrade it to a 4 out of 5.
Yeah. So we're going to keep the weather impact alert through Friday because there's still some uncertainty. There's all the ingredients are still there for scattered strong to severe thunderstorms that could produce all modes of severe weather, large hail, damaging wind gusts, and even a few tornadoes. So we've got the weather impact alert on Friday, and the storm impacts. We still have wind in the medium category. Hasn't changed much this from earlier this week, keeping it there in the medium.
Yep.
Strong wind gusts and tornadoes are also in the low category with large hail. It doesn't appear to be a lot of moisture. You could get a torrential downfall with a thunderstorm as it moves over, but this is not a widespread scenario.
Yeah.
Very isolated.
It's a little unusual for Arkansas because usually we have just a round of storms that merge into a line and everybody gets heavy rain, lightning, and thunder. This event, we've got a dry line that is going to be the catalyst of these storms to initiate over the region. So that's why it's going to be much more limited, because a dry line typically does not produce a line of storms. It's just 1 or 2 storms may be able to break through the cap with the help of that dry line, limiting in coverage, but they could still be intense.
Yeah, when I think of dry line, I think of those severe weather events that typically happen west of us in Oklahoma and Texas. Storms initiate along a dry line. Yeah. And then they line up ahead of that front as it moves on in. So yeah, the dry line is going to have a lot to do with what happens, when it happens. And this is the long-range European model, 7 o'clock Friday, scattered. we're not looking really at a lot of widespread. I'm not trying to downplay it. I'm just saying that the good news is it doesn't look like a widespread event. Friday night, 10 o'clock, European model wants to try to push a line into central Arkansas, and then certainly by 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning, European pushes it off into western Tennessee, northern Mississippi, Kentucky, and Missouri. And overall, again, here is the severe weather risk, which has changed, will continue to change. In our forecast later tonight, 5, 6, 6:30, and 10, don't be surprised. This may look a little bit different. We're expecting the Storm Prediction Center to update this a little here soon.
Yes, it should be updating probably about 2:30 or so. So we may or may not be able to show you that here live on air, but we will certainly post it on our Facebook pages and also our X accounts, and we'll have it on THV 11, 5, 6, 6:30, and also 10. I think the bottom line is, if you're traveling Friday evening towards Memphis, you really need to watch the weather closely, because that is going to be the prime location where these storms could get wild. And Interstate 40, Interstate 555, Jonesboro, those areas. So we really want you to be weather aware if you're watching us in Craighead County, Cross, Poinsett, Lee, St. Francis, Woodruff, White, into Prairie, Monroe, Arkansas County, Phillips County, down through Deshay, and especially into the rest of Northeast Arkansas. Because what we're looking at is storms most likely will develop over central Arkansas, and then they'll really start to gain strength and become intense. And it may just be 1 or 2 storms, but like what we've been saying, one storm produces a tornado, you got some big issues, because there's nothing else to impede in the warm inflow of that storm, and it could just feed off the environment for a long period of time. It could go.
It could be a long track.
We've seen that happen before. I'll never forget when Mayfield, Kentucky got hit, and that storm developed right over Little Rock, because I went outside and I looked and I saw the lowering of the cloud, and it's like, oh, this one's going to be bad. And I told Tom, I was like, this is going to go tornado warning probably the next hour or so. And sure enough, it went tornado warn into Woodruff County, hit Augusta, and then it really went crazy once it got into northeast Mississippi. Northeast Arkansas.
We still had a cap in central Arkansas, but once it left central Arkansas and really tapped into that environment, it just took off.
Yeah.
And I know that some people, in looking back at some of the conversation, some people think that it was on the ground the entire time. They were looking for debris tracks, so they broke it up. Otherwise, it would be one of the longest track supercells that produced a tornado in history.
There was a brief break in the track in northwest Tennessee, and that's where they said it lifted and then it came back down before it tracked its way through Kentucky and hit Mayfield. We are in that type of situation where there could be one town that gets impacted with a strong tornado, maybe Friday evening, Friday night, or Saturday. I think the coverage of more severe weather is going to be higher for Mississippi and Alabama on Saturday, because they've got, I think, more ingredients in place versus what we have here Friday.
Yeah, and I believe in looking at some of the model data that another low is going to develop just on the other side of the Arkansas River, and that's going to be the catalyst for things to get going again.
It's severe weather season.
Gotta expect it.
You lived in Arkansas for a long period of time. You learn very quickly, even if you're here for about a year, how this is prime time for severe weather. And even though we're not in the peak, which happens April and May, we can continue to see spicy storms for the rest of the late winter into the spring season.
With the time we have remaining with you, let's delve into all those ingredients for the making of the severe weather that's coming our way. If we can go to Storm Track 11, Nathan's going to walk you through a couple of things that we keep an eye on when these systems come together. And you've got, I can't see from there without my glasses, I'm sorry.
So this is the short-range ensemble forecast provided by the Storm Prediction Center, which is a part of NOAA, or the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. And what we're looking at is the probability that we have a dew point 60 degrees or higher. And once you get into dew points of that amount, that tells you got a lot of moisture in the atmosphere to work with. So we're going to walk you through here as we get into today, because it doesn't go through Friday. Let me go back to 9Z and see if that's in, to see if we have, okay, we do have that. So the newest run is still coming in, but here we go. This is Friday morning, and take a look at the dew points. They're trying to creep their way into northeast Louisiana by Friday afternoon, and then just clip their way into southeast Arkansas a Friday evening and through the overnight. So that's why I think the chance of a tornado is going to be higher into northwest Mississippi, because you see that moisture really starts to build its way into that part of Mississippi. It's right along the Mississippi River, and we need moisture for the cloud bases to be lower, Tom, and then of course also to have the condensation funnel develop within the tornado. When we take a look at some other information here, let's take a look at the CAPE, or the storm fuel. We'll start off. This is the probability of CAPE exceeding 1,000 joules per kilogram. And when you have something like that, that is going to be pretty impressive for a severe weather event. So here is Friday afternoon. Doesn't really show anything over Arkansas. No. And this is 1,000. I'll show you 500 coming up. There's more storm fuel into Iowa at this point. And then getting into 7, 8 o'clock time frame, you see that CAPE right into East Arkansas. So that's why we're thinking storms will initiate over central Arkansas. They run into that CAPE, there's storm fuel, they run into more moisture in that part of the state, and they could certainly start to really strengthen and intensify rapidly, as that could be the case. And then let's go over to 500 instead of 1,000, and we'll rewind this here, reset. So we're going to go back over to Friday afternoon, and here we go. Once again, you see there's about a 50% chance that we could see the CAPE 500 joules per kilogram or higher than that. Once again, right along southeast Arkansas, but certainly into northwest Mississippi. So those are just some of the areas, and there's so many tools that we look as meteorologists on a day-to-day basis, and you get closer and closer to the event, Tom, you have to look at more information because it's more of the higher resolution models, and it's just you're trying to figure out, okay, this layer is on top of this layer, on top of this layer, where they all merge together to produce the highest amount of ingredients for the potential severe weather. So we'll continue to look at all this information and continue to update you on where we think the highest risk of severe weather is. But right now, everything is in line that it's going to be East Arkansas, Northeast Arkansas, and then over to the east with the highest chance of severe weather. We cannot rule it out here in Central Arkansas. I think for the most part here in Central Arkansas, it's going to be primarily more hail and wind, and then I think the tornado threat will really ramp up off to our east.
If these storms come together, they initiate close to Central Arkansas, but get stronger as they move to the east and tap in to those ingredients. Moisture, lift, instability, wind shear. Yesterday we talked about it. A word to remember is slim. All right? Having all four of those together, and you'll have a bad day. But if you've got one or two of those missing, you know, we talk about this wintertime tornado threat. Sometimes the wind shear will override the CAPE, and you will have tornadoes when it's a little cooler and you don't have all of that warmth.
Yeah.
But everything's in place. It's just a matter of how it all lines up.
And actually, sometimes the shear can be too great, because a storm will develop, you have that shear, the updraft will tilt. But if that shear is too strong, the updraft will tilt too much and the updraft won't maintain itself. So we do have the ingredients for updrafts to tilt and maintain themselves, especially into East Arkansas, Northeast Arkansas. And that's what a supercell is. It's a rotating thunderstorm with a tilted updraft. So if you were to watch a storm develop in the distance and it was a supercell, you would not see the cloud go straight up. It would be more like a tilted version. It would follow the wind direction that's coming in from the upper parts of the atmosphere.
So there you go, a little, you clip this and use it for a weather-wise segment down the road. A little instruction there from Nathan Scott on the ingredients in the event that's going to unfold. One at a time, though, tonight and tomorrow. Again, don't let your guard down. We're going to have some storms that could produce some big hail tonight. Here's the breakdown once again. A couple of rounds of storms. One tonight, hail and wind gusts. Friday afternoon and evening, primarily the eastern half of the state. Make sure you have your plan in place. And, just make sure you're ready to go, especially those of you that are going to be traveling. If you're traveling the further west you travel, you're probably going to miss out on this, and that's a good thing. We'll watch and see how things take shape. And we'll do this again tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Yes.
Tomorrow's Thursday.
Yes, we will.
It's been a week tomorrow, and we'll also be here Friday afternoon to give you the latest. We'll have a lot more.
We're going to have a lot more data to look at because right now with the short range ensemble forecast and also the high resolution ensemble forecast, that will come into play tomorrow. So we'll have a good look on, okay, is everything lining up as expected or has it shifted one way or another? So that's something I'm going to be looking forward to checking out the newest data. Of course, we are weather geeks here. We always are looking at data because that's part of the job.
What's new? Yeah, what's new? What's exciting? What's going on? All right, so hey, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Thank you for joining us. For Nathan Scott, I'm Tom Brannon. We'll see you at 5, 6, 6:30, and 10. And yeah, we'll have some updated information by then. Since we sprung forward, some of our data comes out a little bit later in the afternoon.
Let me check real quick to see
I was going to look and see if it come out. All right.
If it's updated yet. No.
Not yet. Okay.
Doesn't look like it's updated.
So
we're still too early.
Still
it said 2:30 was coming out, so it's 2:25.
2:25. All right. Well, we'll do that at 5, 6, 6:30, and 10 o'clock tonight. Thank you for hanging out with us. And if the weather gets a little rough tonight, then we'll be around to make sure that you know what's going on as well. Thank you for joining us on THV 11 Plus. We will see you once again tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Goodbye.